And the U.S. president is in a fiery mood today, issuing yet another threat to Iran. Donald Trump took to social media just a short time ago, demanding that the Strait of Hormuz be reopened by Monday, saying this: "Remember when I gave Iran 10 days to make a deal or reopen up the Hormuz Strait? Time is running out. 48 hours before all hell will rain down on them. Glory be to God." Now, this ultimatum follows the April 6th deadline Trump had given Iran to reach that deal or to restore access to the critical waterway that carries about 20% of the world's oil. So while the president is issuing threats, the U.S. military, it continues in its race against the clock to find a missing crew member after his fighter jet was shot down in a remote area of southwestern Iran. The F-15E Strike Eagle was downed yesterday. The pilot was ejected and rescued, but the other airman remains missing. Iranian state media announced officials are offering a reward to anyone who captures them and turns them over alive. And around the same time, in a separate incident, you can see this video verified by AFP, which appears to show people on the ground in Iran firing at U.S. aircraft overhead. An A-10 Warthog attack plane involved in the fighter jet crew rescue mission crashed near the Strait of Hormuz, and 2 U.S. helicopters were also struck by hostile fire. The crew in that situation were injured, but they did make it out alive. So let's dig deeper into that and other elements of the war. We have reached Jonathan Schroden. He's the Chief Research Officer for the Center for Naval Analyses, an independent nonprofit research organization. Mr. Schroden, thank you so much for making time for us.
Thank you for having me.
Mr. Schroden, I'm taking a look at your background, and you've got so much experience and knowledge on this subject. So I'm so glad we were able to connect with you today, specifically on the issue of special operations. And the rescue mission would certainly be one for this airman. He's been there a day. I just spoke with an expert in this field, and he said it's good that it's now night again in Iran. Why would that be an advantage?
Well, the pilots in the early part of what they get trained to do when they find themselves in this situation, which is there's a 4-letter acronym they use. It's pronounced SEER. It goes survive, escape, survive, evade, resist, escape. And so he's not captured yet, thankfully, which means he is in the survive and evade phase of the training that these pilots get when they find themselves in the situation. So nightfall is good if you're trying to survive and evade being captured, because it makes it obviously harder for people locally to detect you as you're trying to move around, find a good, better places to hide out, find places to try and communicate to the U.S. forces looking for you where you are. Those types of things are just better done at night than during the day.
And the only reason we believe that he has not been captured at this stage is because the Iranians haven't said anything about it?
Well, neither side has claimed to have identified where this particular crew member is at this time. I presume that if either side were to get hold of him, that they would more or less immediately announce that they have done so, because it's in the interest of both sides to make that publicly known very, very quickly.
How would the American military go about finding this person now?
Yeah, so you've probably seen videos that have been circulating online already of various helicopters, C-130 aircraft, the A-10 Warthog that was apparently also the one that crashed, whose pilot has also been recovered. All of those aircraft are the types of aircraft that would be involved in what they call combat search and rescue, a CSAR type mission, which is what this is. So you've seen videos of those aircraft flying around. They're obviously trying to locate it's a weapons systems officer is the type of crew member that's still at large. So trying to find that WSO, see if they can locate him, or at least detect signs of his evasion from Iranian forces on the ground, so that they could eventually set up a rescue for him. And if they get those types of identifying marks or some type of communication from him to lead them to him, then you would see an insertion of U.S. forces, likely using similar types of aircraft to try and bring about that type of rescue.
Mr. Schroden, would this impact the way the U.S. military moves forward in terms of where it's targeting, who it's targeting, because there's a possibility that an American could be injured?
Yeah, well, they certainly wouldn't want to do strikes, airstrikes in the area that they might suspect he's, trying to evade in for exactly the reason you described. You don't want to inadvertently kill one of your own. And I read somewhere on the news this morning that Israel had agreed to pause its operations in this area as well for the same reason. So, yes, I mean, I assume that they have established a sort of no strike zone at this point while they're conducting these combat search and rescue operations looking for this downed crew member.
The Iranians have taken to mocking the U.S. administration, specifically Donald Trump, and they're saying that what went from a mission for regime change is now about finding a singular personnel member. I wonder, sir, if the Iranian regime finds this airman first and then says, we will return him safely if you end this war, what does the administration do?
Well, I don't think the administration would end all of its combat operations based on, one prisoner of war. That's usually not how these things go. It would certainly complicate things, though, when it comes to any attempt to negotiate a settlement to the war, because now, if the Iranians capture this gentleman, and I certainly hope for his sake and his family's sake that they don't, but if they do, that just gives them another point of strategic leverage that they can use in negotiations with the United States. They now have effectively, or they would have, another card in their hand to play in those types of negotiations. So it would make it harder in that regard.
While the military is still looking for this service member, the president hasn't commented on it publicly, and he's come out today on Truth Social issuing another threat to Iran. Does that further jeopardize the mission to save this individual?
Well, I don't know that it impinges on the tactical aspect of the mission to try and recover him. The statements coming out of the president's Truth Social account, the White House, the Pentagon, over the last week or so, I think have been all relatively aimed at what you could describe as coercive diplomacy, right? They clearly want negotiations with the Iranian government. It's unclear whether those types of talks are actually taking place or to what extent. But clearly they desire a negotiated settlement to end this. And, they're making a lot of threats and surging forces to the region. And my read of that is they're trying to generate more leverage on the U.S. side to use in coercive diplomatic negotiations with the Iranian government.
Jonathan Schroden, very good to speak to you today, sir. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure.